Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I've Never Told You, production of iHeartRadio.
So dear listeners, welcome again to another edition of Women Around the World. Also, happy International Women's Month, everyone.
Yes! I keep forgetting. I think it's February, and then I think it's like, today I was like, Mother's Day. I was like, I need to get my Mother's Day card. And I was like, why?
You're really ready. We're all over the place for sure. But you know what? I kind of forget just because our job is centered around women in general. So it's just every day is Women's Day. International Women's Day for us. And specifically when it comes to our segment, Women Around the World, we try to look beyond just our small country, which is not small, but you know what I mean. And look and see what's happening and who are making some big changes in the world. And I do have a question for you today.
Oh, really?
Because I thought about this. What is your favorite memories of your grandparents, or something that stands out especially with your grandmother, something that significantly stands out about how the community saw her?
My grandmother was somebody who always went out of her way. Like every Christmas, we would give gifts. So I would go with her and she would give out gifts to people and she would introduce me to people. And as you know, Samantha, I love to travel, but no one else in my family really did except my grandparents. And so we would deliver this fudge that was from my hometown to her friends, and she would sit me down with them and have them talk with me about their travels. It was something that I look back now and I wish I had appreciated more. Those times.
Yeah.
Because it was really sweet, but I was like a shy, insecure child. I was like, no, don't look at me. But yeah, it was really nice to have, she took that time. And I think that's how people saw her, as somebody who went out of her way to remember you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I feel the same way, specifically with we call her Mama Joyce. And she was known around the community because she was a teacher. And everybody knew she was called Miss Joyce outside the family. Everybody knew her. Didn't matter. Like, if we were in like a 100-mile radius, and I mean 100 mile, I'm not even kidding, people would recognize her, because she had become such a staunch part of the community through her teaching. And she was also a huge basketball player, a swimmer. Like, she was an athlete through and through. And so for a small town, she was popular. And I loved the stories, and people would talk about how much they adored her. And she probably was someone that I really looked up to. Of course, you have issues with everyone. You can't, put them on a pedestal. But like, she truly loved her family. She truly loved people. And no matter who they were, what background they came from, they were always hers. If you were in her classroom at any point in time, no matter what, you were one of hers. And she would say that. And every time she would walk away from someone coming and say, Miss Joyce, hi, how are you? And if I was with her, she would be like, so-and-so, he's one of mine. He's one of mine. I love him to death. He's one of mine. She's one of mine. And that's exactly how I remember her. But I love that her legacy kind of continued on with that.
Yeah.
And the reason I was thinking about this, today we're talking about Bilkis Bano, who is from India.
Yes.
An 82-year-old woman in India who is also known as Bilkis Dadi, which apparently means grandmother. And she has made pretty big significant headway and has become kind of a symbol for India.
Yeah, because as we've discussed on past mini episodes, India has been in the news a lot lately. And yeah, we talked about the protest that is happening there right now. And we also talked about one of the biggest protests that occurred last year that was led by women.
Right. So, one of the most, again, significant people of the 2019-2020 protests was Bilkis Bano, or again, as we are saying, Bilkis Dadi. She became a representative and an inspiration for people all over the country as she was part of the Shaheen Bagh protest, which protested against the CAA, or the Citizenship Amendment Act, which was seen as discriminatory to specific religions and specific communities, such as Muslim communities, and against the police brutality that was happening and overall discrimination towards different communities.
And Bilkis Dadi sat with the Shaheen Bagh Dadis, or grandmothers of Shaheen Bagh, who were the part of the front line during the protest. She sat for over 3 months from 8 a.m. till midnight.
Right.
She became a figure and a symbol of peaceful resistance and led so many others to follow her example and continue to protest against the system.
She was named by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people of 2020 and was stated as someone who was giving, quote, hope and strength to activists and student leaders who are being thrown behind bars for standing up for the unpopular truth in a democracy that was sliding into authoritarianism and inspired peaceful copycat protests across the country.
She was also recognized by the BBC as one of the most influential and inspiring women in 2020. And when asked about the honor, she said, women should feel empowered to step out of their homes and raise their voice, especially against injustice. If they don't leave their homes, how will they showcase their strength?
I love that. Of course, she actually didn't stop there, though due to COVID restrictions and because of the increase in cases, she did have to lead the 2020 protest in March, but tried to rejoin with the recent farmers' protest, but was quickly picked up by police and then released to her family. Actually, according to one side, she was detained, but released the same day. And the police stated they felt the protest should only be by farmers, since it was a farmers' protest, and that they were concerned with the, quote, senior citizens' safety. But she was quoted as saying, quote, if I need to protest through the night, I will.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And though she wasn't able to stay, she has been an adamant supporter of the protest and continues to encourage those who are out protesting today. And as we talked about in that episode we did about the farmers' protest, it's been really inspiring to see multiple generations of women show up and be the faces of these protests and be, yes, this inspiration that spurs on copycat protest.
Right. And she's definitely one of the most recognized faces because she's in the photos in the front and center waiting, just sitting peacefully and sitting there, making sure she's making a statement without having to be loud, essentially. And yeah, she is on Twitter as well. And so, yeah, I don't know if it's run by her, but she does have a Twitter account. And you can see her also grandsons who have been reporting for her. So when she got arrested, they were the ones kind of telling the details of what was happening. And it's very interesting to see how amazing it is that a group of older women can come together and make such impact with just being present.
Oh, yeah.
And I love it. So I really wanted to highlight her because she just continues, obviously, to fight as much as she can until she gets swept away, essentially. I'm really glad she wasn't harmed or anything and she's back home. But obviously, a lot is happening in India. There's a lot going on around the world, as we know, as we've been talking about. But seeing people like her continuing to be a leader is inspiring.
Absolutely. And thank you for the chance to remember my grandmother. That was a lovely surprise.
Yeah, me too.
As always, listeners, keep us posted on what's happening in your neck of the woods. If you're in India, we would love to hear from you. If you're anywhere, we would love to hear from you. And who should we highlight next for this segment? You can let us know at our email, which is stuffmediamomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can also find us on Instagram at Stuff Mom Never Told You or on Twitter at MomStuffPodcast. Thanks as always to our super producer, Christina.
Thank you, Christina.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff Mom Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.